Welcome everyone to today's session of Hot Topics in Nutrition, Organic Foods, led by Christina DeSegna. This program is hosted by the Blum Resource Center. Over at the Blum, we are grateful to the nutrition team for this continued partnership. The recording of this session will be posted on our Blum YouTube playlist and our Blum Digital Resource Center. For those of you watching live, if you have any questions related to today's program, please feel free to utilize the chat feature throughout the session. At the end of the session, your questions in the chat will be used to moderate a Q&A. If you have any other questions or would like more information about resources and programs offered through the Blum, please visit our website, www.dana-farber.org/resource center, or email us at blum_center@dfci.harvard.edu. Thank you all for joining us. I will now pass the workshop over to Christina.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to review Hot Topics in Nutrition, Organic Foods. So organic foods are emerging as a potential strategy for decreasing cancer risk, but does the research support this? So today we'll review the current research and review whether conventional, organic, or combination of both are better choices. Okay, so our outline for today will define what organic foods are. We'll review research surrounding organic foods and cancer risk, discuss some pros and cons of choosing organic foods, and we'll discuss some practical guidelines for daily food choices. So the definition of organic foods is listed through the USDA, which is part of the federal government. So organic foods are regulated and certified by this branch of the government, the USDA. Based on their website, they define organic foods as a labeling term found on products that have been produced using cultural, biological, and mechanical practices that support cycling of on-farm resources, promote ecological balance, and conserve biodiversity. So what this incorporates are guidelines involving soil quality, animal raising practices, pest and weed control, and use of additives. In addition to following all of the standards set by the organic program, the product must go through an organic certification process. And this is where you might see this USDA organic symbol. So for produce, organic foods require soil that has had no prohibited substances used on it for at least 3 years. For meats, animals have living conditions accommodating normal behaviors, such as the ability to pasture. They are fed 100% organic feed, and they're not administered any antibiotics or hormones. And then for processed or multi-ingredient foods, these foods contain no artificial preservatives, colors, flavors, and all ingredients are organic. There are certain provisions allowed for enzymes in yogurt or baking soda in baked goods where they don't need to be organic. And then also all organic foods are not grown or handled using any genetically modified organisms. So with organic food labeling, it gets to be a little complicated. So there's different types of labeling that you may see. So the first is 100% organic, and basically what this is used to label foods that are basically what it says, 100% organic. So raw, unprocessed crops. They all have 100% certified organic ingredients and processing aids, no GMOs, all ingredients comply with the list of allowed and prohibited substances. There's certification required, and they're allowed to use this USDA organic certified label. The next organic labeling you may see also uses the seal, and this is 95 or greater certified organic ingredients. And then up to 5% of non-organic products may be allowed, but they also have to comply with this national list. No GMOs are also on this. And the other two that you may see have made with organic ingredients. So basically they're not allowed to use the seal, and they must specify which ingredients are organic, but at least 70% of the ingredients contained in the product are certified organic. There's no GMOs allowed in these products, and any ingredients that are non-organic may still have to comply with the national list. And lastly, you may see some products containing some organic ingredients. So basically what these do will just list the ingredients on the product that are organic. There's no specific percentage required. They are not allowed to use the the seal, and they don't have to comply with the national list required. So basically you could have one organic ingredient in a product that has 12 ingredients, and they would just need to label that one organic ingredient. So where's the link between organic foods and cancer risk? So we know that certain pesticides, specifically malathion and diazinon, and also the herbicide glyphosate, are probable human carcinogens. Basically, we know this because these are linked to higher rates of certain cancers from workplace exposure, such as landscapers or people who use these pesticides and herbicides in their general work and exposed to high levels over long periods of time. For the general population, most people are not exposed to these at high levels, and they have low level pesticide exposure, mostly from diet. The consequences of this are not clear. The strategy behind choosing organic foods is to decrease your pesticide exposure and to theoretically decrease cancer risk. So where's the research in organic foods and cancer risk? So there's a few large studies that look at this. Most recently, there's a 2018 study in the Journal of American Medical Association called Association of Frequency of Organic Food Consumption with Cancer Risk. And this study looks at 70,000 adults over 7 years. Those who reported highest intakes of organic food had decreased cancer incidence compared with those who rarely chose organic foods. However, those who ate organic foods also engaged in healthier lifestyle behaviors. And those who ate organic foods also ate an overall healthier diet that we know is associated with the decreased cancer risk. In this study, they did not measure pesticide residues that people consumed, so it's unclear if this correlated with the decreased cancer incidence or if it was just their overall healthier diet that did. Another study from 2014 looked at organic food consumption and the incidence of cancer. This is a large study of women in the United Kingdom. It was over 600,000 women. They followed them for about 9 years. These women in the study reported their consumption of organic food. They could pick never, sometimes, or usually. And in this study, they showed that organic food intake was not associated with a decreased cancer risk for the cancers that they evaluated. So with organic foods, it's important to weigh the pros and cons. So with looking at some potential benefits, there are potential health benefits, so potential cancer decrease. It's potential to be better for the environment. So a lot of with organic food, they use practices that are better for the environment, more sustainable. They try to use things that are long lasting rather than can be detrimental in the long term. Again, more sustainable farming practices and potential better environment for animals. So they really try to have the animals in environments, where they're allowed to live in their normal environment, such as allowing them to pasture, etc. Some potential downsides: cost is really a significant downside for organic foods. They're significantly more expensive, and often, especially with the cost of groceries, at the moment, the cost of organic foods is often cost prohibitive for a lot of people on a strict budget. And availability. So not everything is available organic, and they're not widely available or for every single option. So people who really want to choose organic as much as possible, they don't always have that availability. And depending on where you live and what grocery stores are near you, or even where you live in the United States, you may not have any organic products available to you at all. So availability can become really challenging, even if you do have the resources to buy organic foods. So for nutrition recommendations, we know that there's a large amount of research looking at the importance of fruits and vegetables. So the American Institute for Cancer Research and the World Cancer Research Fund compile expert reports, and they periodically update them. And these assess decades worth of research, looking at hundreds of studies to make recommendations on overall diet and lifestyle factors that can reduce the risk of developing cancer. So this is, looks at everything, including smoking, exercise, wearing sunscreen, but also about what diet factors can play a role. And they know that many studies show that decreasing your cancer risk is associated with increasing your consumption of fruits and vegetables. And that the inverse is also true, that if you have low intakes of fruits and vegetables, you have an increased risk of certain types of cancer. So regardless of whether you choose organic or conventional fruits or vegetables, produce intake is extremely important in decreasing your cancer risk. So unaffordability or inaccessibility of organic produce should not be the limiting factor in fruit and vegetable intake. And I think this is the challenge in recommending organic foods, is that we don't want people to not eat fruits and vegetables if they're only able to choose organic, because even conventional fruits and vegetables are really important in decreasing your cancer risk. So some general nutrition recommendations. All produce, both conventional and organic, should be washed thoroughly before being consumed. So you should wash all your produce under running water, light friction if needed, so you can just rub it to remove dirt, bacteria, chemicals, and pesticide residues. With organic foods, you can consider choosing organic when buying produce that have the highest pesticide residues. So kind of thinking about using your food dollars to get the most bang for your buck. Consider buying locally from farmers markets or directly from farmers. So oftentimes smaller farms are able to practice using organic farming methods, but the cost of becoming a certified organic farm and continuing to, to become recertified is really expensive, and it's cost prohibitive from some of these smaller farms. So by buying locally from your farm, you may get the benefit of organic foods, maybe less cost than buying directly from the supermarket. And you get the added bonus of supporting your local farm, your local, economy by supporting your farms. Consider buying frozen fruits and vegetables. I think this isn't not talked about enough. There's a stigma with people buying frozen fruits and veggies. They think they have to buy fresh to get the most nutritious, but actually at certain times of the year, especially where things are out of season, the fruits and veggies that are frozen are actually more nutritious than the ones you buy in the supermarket fresh. So when fruits and veggies are frozen, they are harvested at their peak ripeness, which is usually their peak nutritional value, and then they're flash frozen, so they retain that nutritional value. And oftentimes the frozen ones are less expensive, so you may be able to kind of structure money a little bit by frozen fruits and veggies for those that you can, especially ones maybe that are out of season that you like. With red meat, although the recommendation is to limit your red meat to 12 ounces per week or less, if you are choosing red meat, you can consider organic options. There's some research that shows that organic red meat has a higher omega-3 content than conventional meat. So you may be getting that added benefit when you do choose red meat if you are able to choose organic options. And also note that just because something is organic does not necessarily mean that it's healthier. There are many processed and packaged foods in the supermarket that have organically grown ingredients, but they still have high levels of fat and sugar and artificial ingredients that can be detrimental to your health. So, thinking about still trying to choose whole foods over processed foods, even if you are choosing organic processed foods. And overall, diets that are high in fruits and vegetables, conventional or organic, have significant benefits for cancer prevention and general health. And trying to include a variety in your diet daily is really important. So some of you may have heard of this. This is the Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 lists. And this is from the Environmental Working Group. Each year they publish lists that contain the 12 most pesticide residue fruits and vegetables, and then the least for produce for each year. So basically this can help guide your food decisions in choosing which to prioritize organic and which can be conventional. Although there are, this isn't a perfect science, with this list, there are some criticisms of it. It just helps to provide a little bit of guidance if you are wondering, I do want to buy a few things organic, where should I start? I usually say in general, foods that have thick skins, that you don't eat the skin. So things like oranges, bananas, avocados, things that you can wash the outside of and that you'll peel off. You can typically buy conventional because the fruit or vegetable inside of the peel is protected. You can wash it before you peel it, and then everything inside is protected. So thinking about it in that way as well can be helpful to kind of guide your decisions. Additionally, I wanted to point out this pesticide calculator just to kind of put into perspective what we're actually talking about here. So basically this safefruitsandveggies.com has a calculator, and you can pick whether you're a child, a female or male, and that basically just looks at your body size, right? And the impact that will have on you and what you're picking for your produce. And I obviously picked a child, right? Because I have the smallest bodies, so they'll have the biggest impact. And I picked strawberries and spinach because if you look on the prior slide here, on this Dirty Dozen, strawberries and spinach have supposedly the two highest levels of pesticides. So what we're looking at here is that it's showing you that a child could consume 181 servings of strawberries in one day and have no detrimental effects, even if the strawberries have the highest pesticide residues. For spinach, it's 309 servings of spinach in one day. So even if you're choosing conventional produce, the amount of fruit and veggies you'd have to consume would need to be excessive to reach the pesticides amounts that could be dangerous. So just to kind of put into perspective, even if you aren't able to choose organic all the time or ever for some of these high pesticide produce levels, you still would have to eat a tremendous amount of them to have any bit of danger according to the levels that they are listing by the USDA. So choosing fruits and vegetables and produce is extremely important for decreasing your cancer risk. So even if you're only able to choose conventional, it's still important to you to incorporate, even if organic foods are not an option for you at this time. So that's kind of what I have to review for today. I put my contact information on here. So I work at the Milford Satellite, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that people do have. My phone number and email address are here. And if there's any questions that I can answer today, I'd be happy to do so at this time. Thank you so much.
I think there was one question in the chat, and it might have been answered, but I'll read it. If there is, in general, what types of produce usually have the highest pesticide residues? So I think we kind of covered that with the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. But
Yep, that's a great question because I think that really helps to guide. It does change sort of year to year, but I usually say, the Dirty Dozen is a good, if we're going to use any research, like I said, it's not perfect in the research that they do, but I think it's a good place to start. So I usually say that's, if you're thinking about organic, that tends to be a good place to start is using that list. In general, anything that has a thick skin that you're going to peel off, that anything you don't eat the skin that you can wash the outside and peel, you're tend to be pretty good with eating it conventional, just because everything inside tends to be pretty protected. Usually berries, spinach, tomatoes tend to be on the tops, and apples tend to be on the top of the high pesticide residue lists year to year. So for kind of thinking about, you don't want to always have to check the list. Those are good ones to keep in mind.
Is there a specific way to clean fruits and veggies to get rid of the pesticides?
That's a great question. Also, because they sell all kinds of washes. So you don't need to use anything fancy. Running water is great because you don't want to soak anything really too long, because then it just continues to soak in that. So if you have like bacteria on it, let's say, it's going to soak in that. So I usually say running water. So if you have like berries, for example, and you have a colander or strainer, just put the berries in the strainer and run it under water. And then you can use some friction just to kind of make sure that you, get in there a little bit. Things like potatoes or whatever that may have dirt on them. You can use a veggie brush, or you can use just your hands and some friction to get it off there. So you don't have to use anything specific like washes, and you certainly don't want to use like dish soap or bleach or anything, because you're going to be eating that food.
As a reminder, this session was recorded and it will be posted on our Blum YouTube playlist in our Digital Resource Center, so please keep an eye out for that. I really appreciate you all joining, and Christina for putting on this excellent presentation. Thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. I appreciate it.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
You.